Hi, this is Vivian in South Carolina, and I was struggling with, should I say anything about this? Should I make a video? Should I comment on it? And I've decided to share it in its own video. In my previous gardening video, I mentioned that this fig plant was not doing too well. It was a lot of the bottom leaves were turning yellow, and a couple of my chestnut trees were also looking that way in containers. And before I explain this, I would like to tell you a story. In some of my previous videos, going back several years, I've had this ongoing battle with fire ants. In fact, this week I've gotten several on my hand, my right hand, and on my fingers, and they're painful. I hate fire ants. And I had a mound near my front door, and it was right next to a plant, a red hot poker plant, that I wasn't really thrilled with. I'll insert a picture of what that looks like. But I had it for a couple of years or more, and it never bloomed. It just was pointy leaves, not something I enjoyed. Wasn't anything to look at. But there was a nice sized fire ant mound right there, and it was near a pathway, near a bench that we like to sit at. So I took a bottle of ammonia like this and dumped about half of it onto the fire mound, hoping it would make a move, anything. Well, the fire mound, besides just putting water into it, had no more difference than just pouring water onto it. Hot water does work, by the way, but it's not always safe to carry hot water from inside your kitchen out to your house or outside of your house and doing something with it. So that wasn't always an option for me. But the ammonia, all of a sudden that red hot poker plant just bloomed. It just was magnificent looking. And the leaves turned so nice, dark green, beautiful. And I tried to do some research on this, and with the internet, you can find just as many negatives for whatever positive thing said about any topic. So I didn't consult anybody else. I looked around in different forums to see if someone else had asked this question, because I know I'm not the first one. And there's a lot of formulas that you take so much ammonia. Even though these are kind of diluted, you still need to dilute them more. Blah blah blah. Well, I just poured this along with my regular watering, and this plant perked right back up, and so did the chestnut trees that were doing really poorly. They just came right back. And I didn't measure. I just poured a little bit, and I may get blasted, and that's fine. If you've got some solid information that you actually experienced yourself, I would love to know about it, whether this worked for you or possible dangers. Kind of on the same topic, I got into a debate with somebody because the compost that I use here is horse manure, 100% horse manure. I know the horses. They're my daughter's horses. I know what she feeds them, and I don't worry about. She doesn't give them whole grain, so there's no oats or anything coming up in the compost. There's I know she does deworm them on a regular schedule, so I know that there's some medication in the compost. I know that it's not 100%. They get minerals, they get all sorts of stuff. Those horses are treated really well. She treats them much nicer than she treats me. But they're not 100%. And I got into a debate. I can take her uncomposted horse manure from her pasture, no problem, and put seed into it or plant into it. I've never had a problem. You cannot do that with chicken manure. It's too high in nitrogen, which is what ammonia is supposed to be. It's way too high in nitrogen, and it will burn the plants, and it'll kill them, and the seeds won't germinate because it's just too high. So I was going back and forth with this person in a Facebook group, saying that I have never had problems with the horse manure that I got from my daughter's pasture. And when I finally said pasture, So, I don't understand. I've always used this. I've been doing this for years. This is how I did my raised beds. This is how I'm doing the containers. As you can see, these plants are not dying in straight, but a lot of this has gotten composted, but some of this stuff was done when it was still very fresh poop. So after some going back and forth, and when I said I got it all from her pasture, she said, wait a minute, I got mine from the barn. And that was the problem. Now I know that if I get some, because now my daughter has a real barn. She didn't have one at the other place. It was still on dirt. She has a barn that's the stalls are concrete. And after talking with this lady and finding out why she failed and I succeeded, was that she was getting the manure. It was easier because her pasture was big and she didn't worry about the poop out there. But she had to clean the stalls, and she used the manure from the stalls, and it had to be composted, otherwise it burned the plants. Well, the horses peed in the stall. When they pee outside, it just goes into the ground. And that's basically ammonia. You can make your own ammonia by collecting urine. Yeah, lovely, I know, and for some reason, I don't know the science, I don't know beyond my own experience. And if I was using someone else's horse manure and I didn't know, did this come out of a barn? Did this, I could have had a big fail. But the ammonia has worked for me. And I bought several more bottles because I've noticed that maybe there's not enough nitrogen in this horse manure. So I've got the opposite problem of my internet friend. And I just wanted to share that in my experience, this works. And it's cheap. I don't know if this makes it not an organic product in the end, because I don't know where ammonia, just straight up plain ammonia, comes from. I hadn't done the research to find out exactly what it is, how it's made. But I'm using it and I'm having good results. So if you have some to add besides, oh, I wouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or if you have what your personal experience has been, whether it's not been a good experience, I don't mind. Let me know. I want to know more about this, and like I said, there's a lot of contradictory information about this. So, thanks for watching.